Dive in, and I'll have this maybe on the video in case somebody misses it. So I talked about the fact that we're starting next Wednesday. We're starting with our next Wednesday. This Wednesday, tomorrow, we're starting with tests, right? So it's going to be group 3 tomorrow. So group 3, then group 1, then group 2, right? And that rotation. So what usually we only take 1 day to test, but obviously COVID, right? We have 3 groups, we can't do that. So what happens is, let's say group 3 comes in tomorrow, the other 2 groups will come online. I'll do the attendance, right? I take your name down, and then I'll dismiss you to watch the video of our next unit that we're doing, which is trigonometry. Okay, so you're gonna get a booklet. As you come through here, you should have your trig booklets already. And then you just watch the 2 days, the 2 videos that I have on there on the days you're not here, okay? Please do not think that they're days off, okay? Because the problem is that I only budget for 1 day, and I'm assuming that you're gonna watch the video. So when we come back, so the next Monday is a non-instructional, right? So this is technically for you, that's not a class, right? So we're starting the next Tuesday again. And so it's imperative that you will have watched and taken down the notes for the new unit, okay, to get you started. So that's how I'm gonna roll with it. That's what I'm doing with all my classes. And if on the video there's something that dates it, it's just because I might use last semester's videos that I made, right? So never mind some of the announcements that are on there. Just do focus on the lesson. You can forward it, fast forward it to the actual lesson, okay? And that is the plan. Okay, so you come on for attendance online. I take the attendance. I dismiss you. You watch the video on our scheduled time, right? So that's the plan. How much is the test out of? I think it's in the 35. It's about 35 marks. You have the whole class to write it. Normally students finish it with less than an hour, within the hour, and you have more than 1 hour, so you should be fine. You bring your study sheet, you bring your formula sheet, so the yellow and the blue, right? Yeah. And most of you will only focus on the blue, like you won't even look at the yellow, but it's there just in case, right? The taxes at the back, right? It tells you parts and labor, like how much taxes are to be paid for each category. If you forget how much safety, right? How much you pay for safety, it's 5%, it's there, so you can have that with you as well. But the study sheet is, in my opinion, the most important one. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk briefly about insuring a vehicle. And of course, you cannot drive a car legally unless you have it insured. And insurance rates vary greatly, right? But I would say ballpark, always count on 100 to 150 bucks a month, more or less, right? Depends on average. Like it could be less than 100, could be more, but it's about 100 to 150 normally for a car. And so we're going to just cover some of the important terms that I need you to just be familiar with, okay? And this is the first word here. Basic third-party liability. Like, what is that? Okay. Basic third-party liability, right? And it changes all the time, right? But they no longer have a 200,000 liability. The lowest you can get is 1 million, and then you can go 2 million, 5 million, and so forth. And what is third-party liability? Well, let's say you're driving and you hit someone or something, right? And you spin into a store, like into a 7-Eleven, let's say, right? You smash their window, you you damage property. So it's no longer just the two cars. It's not just your car, it's now somebody else's property. Let's say you knock down a light, a street light, like a traffic light. That's very expensive to replace. That is on you. Like if you knock it down, it's on you, right? So the third party liability protects you from that. So and it doesn't cost a lot more on your insurance. A lot of people are scared. It's like, oh no, I'm just gonna stick with 1 million. It doesn't cost a lot more to go 2 million or 5 million. You can ask your AutoPack agent right there and then. It's like, okay, how much more for 2 million? It might be like 40 bucks more a year to go higher. So if something happens, you're covered. Let's say you hit someone and the other person has to go to a chiropractor, physiotherapist, and that for a long time. Those bills can be pretty big. That's all covered, right? AutoPack covers that, so you don't have to worry about being on there. So 200,000 was very low. So I'm very confident they got rid of it. So the lowest you can get is 1 million these days. So everything goes up, and so I would encourage you to. So that's basic third-party liability. So obviously, the higher your coverage is going to be, the more your premium is going to be as well. So if you're insuring for more, you're paying more on a monthly or yearly basis, however you set it up. Then I want you to go to the next page here. On page 48, the reason I put so much on here is just in case you want more, it's there for you, right? Deductible. What is the deductible? That is a term that you may have heard already. If not, you're gonna hear of it pretty soon once you get your own car, right? Let's read it. It's the amount you're responsible for paying of any AutoPack claim you make for damage or theft. Your AutoPack insurance covers the amount over your deductible. Okay, and here are some examples of deductibles. Okay, you can get $100 deductible. You can get a $200 deductible and a $500 deductible. And of course, sometimes they make changes to these amounts. But what does that mean? Well, if you have a $100 deductible, that means that every time you make a claim, let's say somebody bends, like drives into you just a little bit and damages your bumper, right? Obviously, if it's their fault, you don't pay, right? Unless they bump into you and they drive off and you don't get a license plate, then you're in trouble, right? But if it's not your fault, you don't have to worry about the deductible. But if it is your fault, if it's an at-fault claim, if you had selected a $100 deductible, you would have to pay $100 to make that claim. And then AutoPack will pay the rest. So it's not that much, right? If you go $200 deductible, then obviously you're on the hook for $200 and the rest they pay. $500, right? Obviously would pay $500, the rest they pay. Now, what I need you to understand is that the higher your deductible, and I'll write this down later, the lower your monthly premium is going to be. So sometimes students don't grasp that. It's like, but the higher your deductible, the lower your premium. Why is that? Well, if you have a $500 deductible, you're not going to make a claim just like that. Like if there's a scratch on your door, you're like, oh man, I have to pay $500 to make that claim. Like you might not be willing to go for it either. Okay, so the higher your deductible, the lower your premium. Okay, maybe I'll write that down here, just above it. A higher deductible results in a lower premium. Okay, that's probably what what I would like you to add there so you understand that. Yeah.
For insurance, isn't it better if I pay annually because then you don't get interest on monthly payments?
You are right.
Because I pay annually and it's still expensive, like 2,500.
Yeah, yeah. You do pay interest if you go monthly, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you do pay an interest rate, so you would be saving money if you just pay it all at once. Yeah. Yeah, if you can do it. Yeah, absolutely. I can't. I have I pay monthly, I take the hit, but that's a good strategy. That's a good point. Uh, let's say here. Oh, one more thing I want to say. In the summer, you'll start seeing these little tents on the parking lots, replace like fixing the chips on your windshield. I don't know if you've noticed those. Like they have like little tents on the corner of a superstore parking lot or whatever. If you have a $200 deductible, it's a free repair. If you have a little chip on your windshield, they will fix that. They put some resin in there or something, and it prevents it from cracking, right? Because in the winter, I don't know if you, it happened to me. I had a small chip on the window, and when it's like minus 40 and you just blast the heat against that window, the crack just went from end to end, just like a whole crack, right? So it started with a small chip. They replace it, they make that claim right there, and then it takes 10 minutes. They fix it, and then you don't have to worry about replacing your windshield later on. So it's a free repair if you have a $200 deductible. Okay. Paying for your auto pack. What are things you need to factors, right? Uh, your auto pack rate depends on the following factors. Okay, you need to know that. So I'm just highlighting the things that are important. It's where you live, what you use your vehicle for, the actual vehicle, of course, and your driving record. Okay, and I will just add a few things here. Where you live, right? Urban versus rural, right? If you live in the urban in the city, you're gonna pay more than if you live outside, like let's say Niverville or Steinbach, right? Because there's the chance of you having an accident is a little less, right? It's lower because it's not as dense. What you use your vehicle for, here you have to pay attention, right? You can insure your car as a leisure vehicle, and that means you can only drive it every once in a while. Like there's actually a specific amount of kilometers you can drive, and only you can't drive it to work every day, right? So usually when you have an antique vehicle, or your Mustang or something, you just want to take it for a spin in the summer, you insure it on the leisure, that's less. And then there's all purpose. That's the one most of us have, all purpose. And then there is layup. This is for storage. So let's say you don't want to pay insurance. It's like a $50 or $60 one time for the whole year. You can just park your vehicle and not use it. And if somebody vandalizes it or whatever happens to it, it's covered. But you cannot park it on the street. Okay, you cannot park it on the street. It has to be on a driveway, it has to be on a private property. So there it is. And your vehicle, it makes sense, right? Is it a van? Is it a two-door convertible, right? They're like, oh, two-door convertible, probably going to drive a little faster than a minivan, right? And so they just collect statistics, and they know that. Your driving record, right? Whether you have merits or demerits, so that all affects you. But you need to know what a vehicle is used for. It's leisure, all-purpose, layup. Okay. Sometimes the leisure is also referred to as pleasure. Okay. I just have that here, down here. What is it used for, right? I have the two main ones. I think that's it. That's all I'm going to say here. Um, actually, one more thing. trying to make this short and sweet. I'm trying to find a place where to place this. Page 49 has frequently asked questions, right? So if you want some more there, you can take that. Let's go to page 51. Page 51 at the bottom of 51 there. Other than the 4 factors, right? On page, is it 39? I'm just going to make sure. On page 44, that is. These also affect your insurance premiums. That's what you call that. Insurance premiums. Loss of use coverage. Do you want new vehicle protection? Excess value coverage. Did you know that the max coverage is 50 grand on a basic? If it's more than 50 grand, you have to pay extra. And like almost all cars, like if it's a brand new these days, like they are 50,000 plus in no time, right? So you need to pay extra for the amount over 50. That's why it's more expensive to insure a new vehicle. Yeah. And new vehicle protection, I'm just going to mention it. Remember we talked about depreciation, right? That the new vehicle loses its value. If you get the new vehicle protection, they guarantee you to get you all the money back you paid for it when it was brand new for the first 2 or 3 years. So let's say you crash and it's written off. If Autopack writes it off, they'll base it on the value of your car today, like when the crash happened. And you're like, no, I still owe so much money on it, right? And so new vehicle protection, they give you all the money back that you paid for it originally, and then you can go get yourself a brand new one again. So those are all extras that you pay, and that is that, okay? I think that's it for insurance, folks. That's all I have to say. I will say some more after the test. I can show you the Autopack website where you can actually type in all the information of the car you're interested in buying, and it will spit out your premium. Like it will actually tell you how much you're expected to pay, so you can kind of know when you're budgeting, right? How much am I going to pay for insurance when if I buy this car, right? Okay, so so there's a lot more stuff past this. You don't have to worry about that. You can flip through it if you want. It actually has a little project there too where you can pick a car and figure out the insurance for it. I would like you to now go to page 38. And this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about that is new-ish, right? I know that when I talk about this, you're going to know a lot more than me even. So to page 38 we go. And the test review is going to have this too, operating costs. Right? What are operating costs? Well, it's the cost to operate, right? And to just keep your vehicle going and maintaining it, right? So some of the things you can mention if I ask you for some operating costs, and I might say, other than fuel and oil changes, right? What are some operating costs that you can encounter as a vehicle owner, right? Anyways, we'll put down oil changes. Brake pads replacements. Replacement. What happened there? Your brakes, right? There are discs that are attached to your axle, and there are pads that press against them as you brake, and they wear out over time. You need to replace them. If you ever hear squeaking as you're driving, and it's even louder when you press the brakes, that is actually a warning. Like the brake pads have a little metal piece that is grinding against your disc, and it's telling you to replace your brake pads. Okay, so don't just think I'm gonna go wash it and then it's gonna go away. I'm telling you that because I heard somebody do that, not that I did it. I thought, hey, I might just give it a good wash. Maybe it's just dirty. It's like, no, they need it to be replaced. You need to balance tires. Replace wipers, right? The wiper blades on your car, they wear out over time. Windshield wiper fluid, right? There's the winter one, there's the summer one, right? Like you need to top that off to make sure that if it's a slushy day, you're gonna need that, right? You need to top it up all the time, okay? Replace light bulbs. Yeah, Logan is saying air filter, yes. Let's throw that in. Replace air filters. Absolutely. Replace I'm going to call that cab filter, and I'll explain what that is. Nowadays, the newer cars, they have a filter that filters the air coming into your car. That's the newer vehicles, okay? That needs to be replaced every once in a while. Every, 3 to 6 months. And the air filter is in your engine. That's where the engine takes its air to burn the fuel, right? So you need to make sure that's clean. I will say something about balancing tires. If you have a car, so I'm going to use that here. If this is your car top view, right? These tires, right? You need to once a year, right? Turn them, right? Like take the back one off, put it in the front, and do the same thing with the left side. And then sometimes they even go across like this. You need to rotate your tires. That's what I meant to say, rotate tires. Let's put that here. Balancing tires is something slightly different. But rotating tires is important because if you have a front wheel drive car and you keep the tires on there the whole time, they're going to wear out faster than the back ones. And once they're worn out, you need to replace them, right? Like, 'cause there's no more rubber left, and then it's dangerous, right? So you need to replace them or do that once a year, okay? Oil changes. Every manufacturer has nowadays certain kilometers, like they tell you replace it every 3 to 6,000 kilometers or every 3 months. So synthetic, yeah. So look into it. I'm just telling you, every manufacturer has a different suggested date and kilometers on it. And then, yeah, there's synthetic versus regular oil and all of that stuff. So just so these are some operating costs. There are many more, right? You can do a coolant flush, like the cooling system of your engine and stuff like that. If you're not sure about this, just go to like a Mr. Lube and whatnot. They know all of that stuff. They'll tell you what to do. Okay. And that is it for operating costs. Okay. Let's put that away. So this is your booklet now. You have all of this. I will just add operating costs here. Right? And insurance, we have that there. So this is basically the front of your booklet, and everything that you need to know is now on there. Okay, so what's next? I know I had said I was going to do an AC today, but I'm just going to give you a chance to review for our test starting tomorrow. And this is where you're going to find the review material. Okay, so remember that package that I gave you with all the handouts? One of them is this one right here. And this is the key. I just made the key because that review that you're getting is brand new. So I won't let you see it just yet, but I will post it. So there's this in your package. So go look it up. It's Vehicle Finance Test Review. And I made this January 2021, right? So it's brand new. I adapted it. I made sure that most of the things, and here you hear me say this right, most of the things are on there. If you want to ace the test, you're going to have to go back through your booklet and look up examples, make sure you're familiar with little things, right, that I've mentioned along the way. So this is the first one that I would like you to attempt. And then there's another one. So there are two quizzes there. I have never really used those, so that's why I threw them in here, because you can use them if you want, but I would like you to try this one as well. Look up this one. That's further to the back, right? Vehicle finance review, new, used, lease, and financing. So if you want more, this one is a bit, it's very similar, except for the test review asks for like advantages and disadvantages of buying new versus used, leasing. It has some insurance questions on there, and it has fuel economy questions on there. So the test review is more comprehensive. So I would say do this one first, and then do this one next. And I will post both of these answer keys so that you can look over them and see if you're doing things right. Okay. So I would say the rest of today's class, I'm just going to say go for it. I will post the answer key shortly.